Today I'm working on this Ego 530 CFM blower. It recently started making a crazy noise, kind of like there's rocks rolling around in there when you would pull the trigger and the impeller would start to spin. I wasn't sure if maybe a bearing was shot or the motor itself was shot, something like that, so I wanted to tear into it and take a look at it. Essentially what happened on mine is that the screws that hold the impeller shaft to the motor and keep it all tight, they started to back out. One of them backed out almost entirely, and so it wasn't spinning straight, and so you're getting that noise because it's spinning lopsided and uneven. It's a pretty simple fix, and it's pretty easy to take the whole blower itself apart, so if yours is making a noise like this, check out the video. Hopefully it helps you out, get your blower back up and running. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. You'll just need a couple basic tools for this. Screwdrivers, 8mm socket, ratchet, extension, some kind of pry tool, blue Loctite, and I use an impact driver, but that's optional. Start by removing the base of the blower from the body itself. You only have to remove the 4 longer screws that are actually further up in the base. Those ones are on the outer edge, just hold, I don't know, the bottom section to the rest of it, whatever it is, those don't have to be removed. Once those 4 screws are out, the base just pulls off with a gentle tug, and I usually just store the screws right in it so I don't lose them. The way the body works is it's split down the center, so you have to remove every single screw and then the whole unit just literally splits in half. I thought at first I could just remove the front set of screws and maybe bend it enough that it could come apart, but that wasn't the case. You have to remove every screw and the whole thing has to split. Also, don't forget about this little blower speed sticker, that's got to be removed. Carefully separate the 2 halves. You might have to use a pry tool or a flathead screwdriver to kind of pop it apart. The only thing that should come out is the trigger. The trigger and the spring will come out together, and everything else should stay to one side or the other. You can't easily disconnect the wiring that goes from the unit itself to the motor inside the tube, but there is a lot of slack, so just be knowledgeable that the wiring is there. You don't want to break it, but you have more than enough room to work, as you can see in the video. So as you can see, this tube is actually 2 halves held together with these little tabs, and it was kind of hard to get a screwdriver in there, and I have this weird little pry tool, so it came in handy. You could probably use a screwdriver, but something a little lower profile might be better. It doesn't take much to disengage the tabs to bend that plastic enough, but it's a real interference fit between the 2 tubes themselves. So you'll be able to tell when the tabs are disengaged, but to get the 2 tubes separated takes a bit of work. There's an 8mm nut holding the turbine to the shaft coming out of the motor, and I had to dig some crud out of mine before I was able to get the socket in there, but it pops off pretty easy, spin it off, and then the turbine comes right off. So you can see here that 1 screw has backed itself almost completely out, and the other 3 are all pretty loose, causing this shaft coming out of the motor to kind of rock back and forth, and that's what's giving you that noise. I had some blue Loctite laying around, which is why I used it. I use it on my 2-piece wheels. It allows the screws to be held in place, but removable if needed. So all I'm doing here is just backing the rest of the screws out, applying the Loctite, putting them back in, and then I reinstalled the little turbine wheel, tightened that down, and from there you can just reassemble the entire blower. The reassembly of this was pretty simple, especially compared to any other electronic product I've ever put back together. There are 4 little circles on the sides of the tube, 2 on each side. Those line up to the body, and then you have to make sure you put that rear screen piece, the flat part, goes up. Make sure you have all the wiring tucked in properly. There's a space for all of it to go. You can put it all back together, and it should fit perfectly. In my initial usage of the blower since I did this repair, it seems great. It's held, the screws haven't backed out, and the shaft is still spinning balanced and straight. That being said, I've owned this blower for 2 years, so it took 2 years to get to this point. If the screws happen to back out faster or, this repair fails, I'll leave a comment and let you guys know. Thanks for checking out this video. Hopefully it helped you fix the problem with your blower. Please leave a question or comment if you've got one, and don't forget to subscribe.